Yeah, I think the fact that he can guard really 4 positions is really what makes him valuable. He's got the toughness to, we switch him on a 4 and they roll a 4 in there, he can battle that way. He'll win rebounding wars against bigger guys, and he's got the smarts and the quickness to defend little guys when we switch on to him.
Yeah, and then do you see that defensive end maybe is a more defined role this year now that there are a lot more scorers on this team in the backcourt?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is a team still trying to figure out their roles a little bit, and the one thing that I know DeShawn always understands is that he's going to bring extreme value on the defensive end.
And Marquette specifically, obviously Kam Jones does a lot for them. What does it sort of take to stop him, especially when they have guys that can space the floor around them?
Yeah, I mean, they're such a different team from last year just for the fact that although they're a veteran team, you got Gold out there picking and popping. They do a lot of slipping. Kam does a great job, a lot of throwbacks. They take a lot of threes. It's just not Kam. Kam does a great job facilitating, but I think Stevie Mitchell does a really good job in their offense too. So they're a very balanced team, even though Kam is, I think he's averaging 25 or whatever he's averaging, but they're a much more balanced team than just Kam.
We'll go to Sam and then Kyle.
What's changed about Marquette the most, losing Kolek and Oso, obviously, from last season? I mean, I know Mitchell and Kam.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is their big last year was not a threat from the outside. He was a heck of a player, and obviously where he got drafted. Kolek is, I think Kam's taken over Kolek's role pretty darn good. I think the biggest difference from them is I think you could always kind of clog them up just a little bit from watching film last year to where this year I think a little bit smaller, a little bit quicker, and obviously with Gold and Joplin at the 4 and 5 technically, you have 2 guys that can really shoot the ball. I mean, Joplin I think took 10 threes the other night. Gold, I mean he's going to put them up as quick as anybody. So I think that's the biggest difference. They have 5 shooters on the floor, where last year they maybe had 3.5. I would count Kolek as a half.
Yeah, and then kind of that contrast of style, right? You're playing 2 bigs. They kind of have guys who can shoot it. How much is you guys punishing them down low versus them picking and popping you guys? Are you worried about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good contrast. We're gonna have to throw it in and really try to be physical inside early in the game. And at the same time, our big guy is going to have to guard a little bit, differently than what we have. The good thing is we've played 3 games to where we've seen 3 different styles that they've at least had to adjust. This is a new style. We're going to have to do a lot of different pick and roll coverages that we haven't done just because of all the stuff Gold does.
And then last one for me, shooting wise, obviously this team, you got some guys who tweaked a little bit. DeShawn, DeShawn talked about one-hand shooting, obviously taking the guide hand off, but what else do you guys do to kind of, maybe reshape or make small changes?
It really just depends on the guy. It really does. It's shooting is such a. By the time they get to you, you're talking about an ingrained pattern that they've probably been shooting the same way since they were in grade school, believe it or not. So you have to be really, really careful for what you do and how you try to make changes with each individual guy, because the shooting forms are so drastically different. You can have a guy like Reggie Miller who had some of the worst form but was one of the greatest shooters, and then you have Steph Curry who probably has the most purest form of shooting as the greatest shooter. So it really is an individual basis. I try to not do crazy overhaul changes because it's an ingrained pattern that they've been doing for so long.
Kevin, just
that works.
Just to talk about Juju and Derek. Obviously, Juju been in this program for such a long time. Through the first 3 games, what have you seen him do in terms of, in-game helping Derek adjust, getting him kind of suited to college basketball?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's been a two-way street. I think Derek's helped Jew a little bit, and Jew's definitely helped Derek. I think Jew has really helped Derek with the physicality and getting ready for the physicality of college, especially what we're going to see on Friday night. It's a different level of physicality than what we've seen so far, or what Derek has seen so far. But I think Derek's also when they're out there, they talk to each other about what he sees, and get here when I'm here, and Jew does the same thing. So I think they've worked really well together. And I think they both helped each other out. But definitely more than anything, Jew has really helped Derek be prepared for the physicality.
And I know Derek has had a couple stops between Baltimore and here, but
Really just one.
Oh, sorry. But when you kind of look at the common DNA between those two players, being where they're from, what do you kind of see as a coach?
Yeah, I think the really cool thing about, although Derek went to high school and Derek got coached by one of the best high school coaches in the country. Derek lived in Baltimore all summer long, played on the same AAU teams, were in the same gyms, worked out with the same guys. So, I think they're very similar in the fact that they love where they come from, they appreciate where they come from. And I think it's helped that the fact that they've been around the same people. Although Derek went to high school in Florida, for 5 months a year, he was back here training, playing, doing with all the same guys that you did.
Kevin, 3 games into the season, what's been the most encouraging thing you've seen on the floor?
I definitely think our bench play has been really. I thought it would be a strength, but I've been really happy with what our bench has done, from a tempo on the defensive side, from a steadiness on the offensive side. They've come in and I think they've done a great job, every one of them, of giving us something different off the bench.
And then playing a ranked team this early in the season, what things, outside of the obvious, what sort of things do you hope to gain from Friday night? What do you want to learn about your club?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great test. This is a little bit like, going to play Iowa, where 5 guys that can shoot, space you out, tempo. I want to see our defense translate to the next level, I think, more than anything. And obviously playing in a different environment is probably the next biggest thing. Playing in front of fans is something that's, we're going to see. And so our guys getting used to it and being ready for that is something that, I want to see how they react to that a little bit too, because it's a different feeling in this building, obviously, for a Marquette than it is a Florida A&M. And that's not a negative connotation, it's just reality of college basketball.
Kevin, Rodney Rice is obviously a guy that was very highly touted coming out of high school, goes to Virginia Tech, and things obviously don't work out, battles a lot of injuries. But, since coming here is really kind of broken out. Just what do you think is working for him? What do you think you or the program has given him that has allowed him to do that? And, what was it maybe just as simple as a change of scenery?
No, I think it was a combination of things. Sometimes, injuries are really tough when you're a player. And he had some serious injuries at Virginia Tech, and I think him coming home and having his family support to try to get him back to where they wanted him to get was huge. He's got a great family. They're 30 minutes away. So I think having that support, fighting through injury and getting back was huge. And I think the other thing was, one reason he really wanted to come here is he knew, he would have some freedom on the offensive end, but also that we were going to be patient with him and work with him to get him back. He really liked that aspect of this program, that we were going to spend a lot of time and just not put any pressure on him to be a guy that's unreasonable. So I think he's played great. I think he's going to continue to get better as he gains more confidence, because he's put a lot of hard work in.
And then Jay Young, obviously a guy who's on his 5th team now, but really brings a lot of experience. Just what has he added to this locker room, being a guy that, I feel like a lot of other people can't relate to having that much basketball, under their belt? Yeah,
Jay's been probably the best addition by far for me, because he's he's got a really good way about him. He's got a smile on his face. He's a great teammate. You don't have to run anything for Jay. You don't have to worry about Jay. He comes in the gym every day, and he's really fun to coach. And in today's environment, with all the stress on these guys and NIL and all this other stuff, Jay's a little bit like a throwback. He just wants to, he really wanted to come here and play at the highest level and give himself a chance, to experience it. And so he's been a great addition from a leadership standpoint, from an attitude standpoint. He's been terrific.
Kevin, a bit of a random stat here, but your staff is one of 4 in the Big Ten that still wears suits on the sidelines. Just wondering for you, what's the history and tradition behind that? That seems like a bit of a lost art in college basketball.
Well, we all wore suits until COVID, and I really didn't like COVID. I thought that that whole year and a half that we were acting crazy. So when we came back to pretty much normal, I wanted to get back to normal. And for me, normal was when Coach Williams coached here, he wore a suit. When my dad coached, he wore a suit. When Rick Pitino coached, he wore a suit. When Dean Smith coached, he wore a suit. It seemed like everyone before me respected the game and respected their institution. So for me, it was more about respecting the game and respecting the people that I'd worked for. And so that's why we still wear suits.
So for you, is that you take more of that from Coach Pitino or Coach
Williams? My father and Coach Pitino, yeah. I mean, I think my father's one of the best coaches that ever coached from the high school level to the college level. He wore a suit. Even though as he got older, he wore a turtleneck and a suit, which was kind of weird. But he's not the most normal guy. And then Coach Pitino, I mean, if you had your shirt untucked the wrong way, he'd let you know about it. So I just think there's a level of respect. My president wears a suit. My AD wears a suit when he goes to places. I just think there's a level of respect that we should have. And, a lot of guys disagree with me, and I'm fine with that. But that's my feeling on it.
Have you talked to other coaches around the league on their thoughts?
I could care less what and they could care less what I do. They have their own issues. And, Matt Painter I think he wore a polo all year. I'd take his year over me wearing a suit any time. So different birds, different animals, man.
Last one. I know
You're really on this, aren't you?
Yeah. I know you and Mick have a close relationship, and he's still one of the 4 that still wears suits. Is that just like a tradition that you guys have carried?
No, I mean, Mick worked for Coach Pitino, too. And again, I think Mick is the head coach of UCLA. I'm the head coach of University of Maryland. Those are big jobs. I think that he understands there's a level of respect. I mean, John Wooden coached there. I didn't see John Wooden coaching in a sweatshirt. So I think there's a level of respect that you have to have for tradition and history. I think Mick understands that as much as I do. Thank you.